The explosive shockwaves from Operation Epic Fury aren't just rattling the regime in Tehran, they are detonating right here at home, directly targeting the American wallet. Since the bombs first dropped on February 28th, a quiet but utterly devastating crisis has been creeping across the United States: the price of gasoline. Sarcastic. It's the ultimate political irony. Just weeks ago, President Trump stood before the nation during the State of the Union, taking a massive victory lap over $1.85 gas in Iowa, and weaponizing low prices as the absolute crown jewel of his administration. Today, that narrative is up in smoke. Gas has surged nearly 17%, hitting $3.48 a gallon as of Monday, and the American public is suddenly bleeding an extra $200 million every single day just to commute to work. Shouting. For a Republican Party desperately trying to secure a midterm sweep on the promise of economic relief, this isn't just a headache. It is a five-alarm political fire. Behind closed doors, heavyweights like Senate Majority Leader John Thune are sweating the reality that high pump prices historically slaughter the party in power. Trump is demanding the public swallow this short-term pain in exchange for neutralizing the Iranian nuclear threat, abruptly pivoting his rhetoric to a soaring stock market while entirely ignoring the gas pump. But with energy experts completely baffled by the White House's apparent lack of a contingency plan, the question remains: is the administration flying blind into an economic catastrophe? Before we break down the frantic scramble inside the Oval Office and what this means for your bank account, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tell me in the comments, are you willing to pay the price at the pump for this war? Let's dive into the numbers. The Commander-in-Chief's Middle Eastern offensive is crashing head-on into the Republican Party's midterm election strategy, and the point of impact is the American gas pump. President Trump is aggressively waving off the mounting panic over surging fuel costs tied to his military campaign in Iran, telling the public the spike won't genuinely dent their wallets. Meanwhile, his political allies are sweating bullets, terrified that runaway inflation will utterly dismantle their economic pitch to voters this November. Speaking down in Florida this Monday, the president framed the surging prices as an artificial temporary byproduct of the conflict, guaranteeing a massive drop the second the dust settles. He refused to nail down an exact timeline, though he confidently boasted the military was vastly outperforming its schedule. The administration's core economic spin on the Iranian theater is simple. The financial squeeze is brief, it is absolutely necessary, and it's nowhere near as bad as the critics warned. But for conservative candidates battling in razor-thin swing districts, vague assurances don't pay the bills. The ripple effects of the offensive are brutal. Since the bombs started dropping on February 28th, the price of unleaded has rocketed up nearly 17%, hitting an agonizing $3.48 a gallon by Monday. Global capitals are already bracing for widespread economic shockwaves. Behind closed doors, GOP heavyweights are quietly resigning themselves to the merciless political physics of inflation. Senate Majority Leader John Thune didn't sugarcoat the reality to the press, admitting that fuel costs are the ultimate voter barometer. He leaned on the hope that robust domestic oil production would cushion the blow, but confessed it demands intense monitoring, adding that the price of crude is always a top-tier concern. The White House desperately wanted to avoid this exact scenario. Just weeks ago, ahead of the State of the Union, the president's inner circle, cabinet titans, and top strategists huddled at the Capitol Hill Club to draft their midterm master plan. The unanimous directive? Making the reduction of living costs the absolute centerpiece of the Republican ticket. During that primetime address, Trump took a massive victory lap, declaring the economy was roaring louder than ever in history. He specifically zeroed in on his favorite metric: gas prices. He hammered his predecessor's $6-a-gallon peaks as a complete catastrophe, boasting about driving the national average under $2.30, highlighting pockets of $1.99, and bragging about spotting $1.85 gas during an Iowa swing. What a difference a few weeks make. The president, who practically built his political brand on weaponizing high gas prices, is now demanding the American public swallow the financial hit. On social media this past Sunday, he framed the temporary pain at the pump as a microscopic trade-off for eliminating Tehran's nuclear capabilities and securing global stability, flatly stating that anyone arguing otherwise is a fool. But watch the strategic pivot. By Monday, while addressing House Republicans at his Doral resort, Trump completely scrubbed gas prices from his economic boasting. The man who used to lead his rallies with falling pump prices suddenly pivoted entirely to Wall Street, hyping up record-breaking market numbers. He promised the markets would soar even higher, casually brushing off the economic drag of the conflict as an unavoidable necessity. His strategists aren't blind. They know fuel costs can destroy a congressional majority. Behind the scenes, the administration is scrambling for levers to pull to drop prices, though White House officials are keeping their playbook strictly sealed. Spokeswoman Taylor Rogers stuck to the script, issuing a statement that labeled the economic shock as a momentary disruption. The official line is that once Operation Epic Fury completes its mission and defangs the Iranian regime, the markets will instantly correct. Across the aisle, Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer is demanding Trump immediately crack open the Strategic Petroleum Reserve to flood the market. Outgoing Nebraska Republican Don Bacon offered a sober reality check. While the administration has notched economic wins, the middle class is still hurting, and this war is a massive roadblock. The surge was inevitable, he noted. The terrifying unknown is the duration. The consensus from the energy sector? Brace for impact. As long as the missiles fly, the prices stay high. Patrick DeHaan, the lead analyst at GasBuddy, expressed outright shock at the administration's apparent blindness. He noted a glaring failure by the White House to coordinate with industry experts or formulate a preemptive strategy to blunt the spike, a standard operating procedure for past presidencies facing similar crises. According to DeHaan, public panic is hitting a boiling point. The math is brutal. Americans are currently bleeding an extra $200 million a day at the pump compared to just 8 days ago, and that hemorrhage is accelerating. The iron law of Washington remains unbroken. A presidency's survival is tethered to the price of unleaded. Democratic veterans like Ron Klain used to obsessively monitor the pump as the ultimate political thermometer. Sarah Bianchi, a former Biden trade official, echoed the industry's bewilderment, noting the administration walked into a war zone without an economic parachute. They are scrambling to fix a dial that is notoriously impossible to turn. The collision between the battlefields of the Middle East and the American gas pump is creating a political pressure cooker that Washington simply cannot ignore. We are witnessing a massive, high-stakes gamble by the Trump administration. The White House is betting its entire midterm survival on the assumption that Operation Epic Fury will be swift, decisive, and wrapped up before the American consumer hits a breaking point. But the historical reality is unforgiving. Wars are notoriously unpredictable, and the price of oil is a merciless political executioner. If the administration cannot rapidly neutralize the Iranian threat and stabilize global markets, the domestic economic fallout will entirely eclipse their foreign policy victories. We are staring down two very distinct futures. In one scenario, the Pentagon delivers a lightning-fast triumph. The energy markets instantly self-correct, and the Republican Party rides a massive wave of national security and economic vindication straight through November. But there is a much darker alternative. If this conflict drags into a protracted quagmire, the daily $200 million bleed out of American pockets will multiply exponentially. Frustration will curdle into outright fury, the Democratic minority will weaponize the financial pain, and the GOP's meticulously crafted cost of living campaign will collapse under the weight of $4 or $5 gas. The administration is currently scrambling for domestic levers to pull, but experts are warning that the dial is already slipping out of their control. The war in Iran may be happening a world away, but the true battlefield for the administration's political survival is located at every single gas station across the United States. What do you think happens next? Will the administration pull off a rapid victory, or is the GOP heading for a brutal reality check this November? Drop your predictions in the comments below. If you want to stay ahead of the political and economic curve, make sure to subscribe, leave a like, and share this video.